We return.
We do return.
Or rather, I return after battling the horrific stomach bug.
Probably food poisoning.
I come back with horrors to share with the 10-ish worst fates in 40k.
Live footage of the entire event.
No, not live footage of the entire... Oh, God, no. They wouldn't want to see that. They did win the poll by a tiny, tiny margin. So we're going to be going over some stuff that sucks, let's say. It's terrible. It's unpleasant.
Somehow worse than food poisoning.
Yeah, that does mean it's time for a new poll, specifically our 13th ever poll, and it's the losers bracket, with there being Abaddon, the High Lords of Terror, the Dark Eldar, who've been there twice now. I think they're the only ones who've been there twice. And the Tau Crisis suits.
How?
Because the losers always forward it over, and then there's 3 options. Like, it's always the losers bracket, and then the loser of the losers bracket goes on to fight in the next losers bracket. See, it's not that complicated. Not that complicated at all. You guys get to choose by sounding off in the comments. We'll see who wins. We will see.
We'll see who wins the 13th black poll.
Yeah, exactly. We do also have a Patreon where you can get a bonus episode every week, access the Discord, community streams, and a bunch of other fun perks. This week we just covered Oberon and Xandric, and that is one of my favorite episodes, I think.
It's a really good episode.
Right?
It's a really good
so much
episode.
fun. There's a whole year's worth of stuff. So for those of you that have finished binging everything here and want some more, there's a whole backlog there that's never seen the light of
Double
day.
it and give it to yourself.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. And you can see all of that and more by heading on over to patreon.com/Isyander and Coda. For those of you already there, thank you very much. For those of you signing up as I speak, thank you very much. We do also have a Twitter, or X, or whatever you want to call it, and an Instagram too.
The app formerly known as Twitter.
Sure. It's just a better way for us to interact with you and let you guys know if anything happens, like last week's episode was missing, because I've noticed community posts don't go... Some people will see them 3 weeks later, and some people will see them immediately, and there's kind of no in between. So we're going to change how we do things a little bit. That's going to allow us to interact with you guys more.
Kind of odd.
Yeah, it should be fun, and you guys will probably get inundated by car pictures on Instagram and my stream of consciousness. So let's see if you can stomach that. No, I'm joking. You can't stomach that. It's really good in here.
It's a lot of cars.
No, it's not just a lot of cars. But let us get into the worst fates in 40k in no particular order.
Didn't we already cover one of these?
Yeah, it's going to be a speed bump. That one's not. Here's the thing about 40k. Here's the thing that matters. There are so many worst fates that it's kind of an opinion piece or like a 10-part video series. There are so many terrible things that could happen to you. I would honestly argue just being born in 40k is a terrible fate. And then from there, it's just downhill. There's no...
I mean,
maybe if you're like the son of a noble,
you wouldn't want to live in a Hive world.
No, God, no.
No.
Maybe if you're the kid of the guy in charge of it, it wouldn't be too bad. But even then, like tomorrow, the Emperor's children could show up, and suddenly you're really high on the list of terrible things that have happened and will happen to a person.
Yeah.
Right. And they do also have I'll give 40k credit. They do tend to like stay in their own lane, so to speak, very, very well. There's a very specific kind of brand of bad they like to stick to, which is so bad. Oh, I can't relate to this at all, and this is fine, you know?
It's so bad it's comedic.
Kind of, yes. It's like the whole guardsmen only live, like, what is it, 13 hours? I'm going to get corrected on that.
It's such ultra violence, it's comedic. It's like Wile E. Coyote using TNT on the Roadrunner, and then it bounces back at him, and he like turns into just like feet that are charred on the ground.
Yes. It's like the whole 15-hour guardsman life thing, or like anything to do with Khorne, really, and chainsaws. It's all so absurd that it's fine. 40k does a good job of staying in its lane. There are sometimes it leaves its lane and gets into stuff that's just
too real.
Yeah, and we're going to be steering clear of a few of those.
We've covered a couple of these, considering I think it was the Night Lords that like just gave me like the heebie-jeebies.
Oh, the Night Lords are going to show up. Spoiler alert, they're going to show up.
I figured.
Yeah, they listen, I wanted to get one of like every faction kind of in here, and I count the Imperium and Space Marines as almost two separate and legally distinct entities. Just because of how
you
how
have the
behave.
Imperium, and then you have the Imperium's living weapons.
Yeah. Just the way they behave, the way like there are some Space Marines who do not like the way the Imperium is going raw. And then there are some...
And they don't necessarily need to be like traitors either.
Yeah,
Take the White Scars, for example. They're like very anti-empire. Well, not anti-empire, but they're anti-tyrant.
Yes. And then you have plenty of Space Marines that are hated by the administration in the Imperium, where they're like, we'll give you the worst assignments until you cease existing, and we shall move on. So I do like counting them as their own thing. So we're going to stick to mostly that level.
That's good. I was about to say, prepare for your Hebes to get GB'd. But...
There'll be a couple Hebes to be GB'd.
Okay.
It's 40k. We do have to top the list somehow, but probably not going to get to living skin factories. Not like the Demonculaba episode.
We're not gonna have the suspicious curtains flying around.
No suspicious curtains. We're going to start with one that happens to just regular average Joes, thanks to the Tyranids, and it's the story of Cardinal Salem.
Spoiler alert, he gets eaten?
No, actually.
Spoiler alert, he gets dissolved.
We will get to that. The Tyranids are... If you don't like bugs in and of themselves, they're horror. It's Starship Troopers.
Look at them, they're bugs.
Yeah, no, they're massive bugs. I mean, they make it rain chitin. If you read what a Tyranid invasion entails in detail, it's really, really not thrilling. Everything from living bullets that dart around inside you to the acid pulls that they love to do, to the just fact that your air can now be rendered unbreathable.
Just because of the amount of spores in it.
They have worms that ride your nerves. Like there's a lot of stuff. Yeah. There is a lot of stuff that the Tyranids like to do to things that is unpleasant.
You have found the perfect nerve of mine to just like poke at with a stick.
Yeah. I know. I'm aware.
I hate it. Personally.
I mean, we've seen whole ships just get eaten by Hive ships, and it is the experience of being swallowed and digested alive. It's very not thrilling. I think there's a scene where one guy swan dives into the acid just because the pain is that unbearable. Like he'd rather just finish it now than
just you take care of it now.
Yeah, because you have to remember if this is all much larger, that means like the stuff in your gut that helps break down food is also much larger, and so like maggots start like it's.
I'd imagine this entire situation is if anybody has seen that one scene from Nope, that
haven't seen it.
I've like literally seen one clip, and it's like the most like it makes me itch.
You know what? Then I probably won't look for it. Itch. Anything that's described as making me itch.
It's not even that it's like outwardly like it's. There's no gore. There's no guts.
Okay.
It's so outwardly horrifying, and what's the director's name? Is it Jordan Peele, right?
Yes.
Does a really good job at like hinting enough information at you that you're like your imagination running wild with the sensory input he's giving you is the most horrifying part. It's just so like he's really good at this. He's frighteningly good at his job.
Watch Key and Peele, and you would not convince me that's the same guy, but it's talent.
Somebody told me that like that's the same Peele, and I'm like, you're joking with me, right?
Nope. Same guy who we can all thank for the very, very sweaty meme. I love that one so much. You know the image. And many more. But the thing that keeps the hive mind, I suppose, grounded and not too terrible is it's rather impersonal about what it does to you. You know? It's like, do you actively hate your lunch? Not
it's
really.
Just kind of like it's a force of nature doing what it does.
It's just I needed to eat, and you're a burger that maybe could scream like
the circle of life.
Yeah. They're just a new portion to the circle of life, and you're now
at the bottom of it.
It's very unpleasant.
Congratulations.
But there is a few times where they get a hair sadistic, and my favorite is the Death Leaper, who got his nickname because the hive mind wanted to take some backwater missionary planet. I have to stress this: not that difficult of a planet to take. This is not a Space Marine homeworld. This is not something the Inquisition really cares about. There is no MacGuffin on this planet. It's just a planet, and they decided to create this custom weapon for it and send it forward. The flora and fauna were normal too. Like it was just a planet. It was just a regular planet.
It's like the U.S. military sending.
And they sent. Hold on, I have to show you what it looks like.
That looks kind of badass.
It's so cool.
It's giving like huge Mind Flayer vibes, and I kind of love it.
You figured out its exact gimmick.
Yeah.
So they sent this thing forward, and it began immediately disappearing people in the middle of the night, and you'd be found with like holes in your skull and your brain drained clean out.
Whoa, this is just the Mind Flayer.
Yeah, on just some random planet. On just some random planet, they did that.
Why not?
Like, you're just guarding a Walmart, and suddenly, like, the night shift is there, and there's 5 holes drilled into their skull. You are now just so reevaluating all of your career choices.
Putting a new, fun, intimidating twist on the name The Night Shift.
Yeah, yeah. And they're the ones who gave it this nickname of the Death Leaper, because... very accurate name. It got so bad that the general populace kind of started getting this paranoia about it. Just like, that shadow moved. Why'd that shadow move? Last time I saw a shadow move, that guy just disappeared.
Oh, they were living in like... They were living Skinwalker social media, except the Skinwalkers actually exist.
Yes, yes. They were being held together by this guy they really looked up to, though. Cardinal Salem. People loved him. It's like if JFK was the Pope.
Giving if the name is like any form of hint at their inspiration, I'm gathering the vibes for this place.
Yeah, exactly. The people loved him, and because of that, they loved the Imperium. He was the perfect spokesperson for the Imperium. He knew exactly what to say and how to keep them fighting and in line, despite them having a Skinwalker situation happening. He had to deal with.
He was the judge keeping Salem together.
Yes. The thing about this thing, though, is it, again, for some backwater, was created to be very adept at psychological warfare. And so, using the information it discovered from using people as like sippy cups, it realized that if I take out... Cardinal Salem needs to go. It's a fact.
He's onto us.
No, he's not onto us. He's just a glue holding this together, right? But if I just take him out, he's going to become a martyr.
And then they're going to become even stronger.
Something else will glue them together, and then they'll be charging for Salem. Like, it's not. It's going to be more of a problem than it's worth. So if this thing wants to deal with this hope that he provides, it has to find a way to snuff it out entirely.
It needs to completely demoralize the people. I see where this is going.
Exactly. And so to do this, it breaks into his cathedral, and instead of just killing him, because this thing breaks into his bedroom effectively, it massacres everyone guarding him. All of them. And it's described as deliberately like aiming its cuts to spatter onto the cardinal. Yeah. And then it just gets like an inch from his face and looks directly at him, and then just leaves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Frightening.
Now, he's horrified by this, obviously.
Because of course.
And so he calls for help immediately. Like, security around him is quadrupled because effectively that thing just... I won't say a sentence that's going to get the feds after me. Effectively, it just did something you should never do to anyone in power. So they move him to an even more secure location with even more security. And the next night, you won't guess who arrives again.
I wonder.
And you won't guess what it does again.
I wonder.
And this goes on night after night after night for 10 days.
They've run out of guards at that point.
No, they still have security. He is really popular.
Okay, fair enough.
He is really popular. Like, people would just like, of course I'll sign up to guard him, even if it means I will probably die. And
a swift and violent death.
I don't know if it was swift. I can't guarantee if it was swift.
A bit sadistic.
Yep.
Especially with the Necrons, but not Necrons, Tyranids, but you know,
yep.
Whatever.
By the 10th day, the Cardinal is an understandable mess. He's a complete wreck. He is terrified. He is paranoid. He is so scared he won't give his speeches anymore effectively. Like, he doesn't even trust his fellow man, and he's stuck ranting and raving about how he can feel it constantly watching him, and he just wants it to kill him, and he doesn't know why it won't. And all it's done is just end everyone he knows and loves, and it'll do it tomorrow, and it'll do it the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that. And imagine the most important person ever, the guy gluing your planet together, is saying that in public on live, like on Instagram Live. Like Joe Biden live streaming, the skinwalkers are real. They've come for all of us. Your morale's gone. There's no such thing. Did you not like that image?
This is why Mitch went silent for a solid 30 seconds.
They're real. They're in. I can't. They're gonna come for me. As you can imagine, that shatters morale so much more effectively than if they ever dealt with a cardinal. And by the time the Tyranids roll around, it's such a clean sweep. It was first of all, again, backwater planet. This was always going to be a sweep. This was.
Listen, you interrupted me before I was going to say, but this is like the U.S. military sending in the full force of their military into like ancient Greece.
Yeah. This was never in contention. This was never going to be difficult, but
it was child's play. It was just going to be very violent child's play.
It's made even easier when they roll up and they find a planet in complete chaos. Because, yeah, it's a madhouse now. All your worst fears have been confirmed. Every conspiracy nut now seems valid.
It's like if the birds actually weren't real.
The birds aren't real. The sky's not there.
It's a simulation, guys.
It's a projection.
It's a projection.
Yeah. I love this thing so much. And now they just use this willy-nilly whenever they want.
Just like...
They made a hell of a weapon. Of course they're going to keep using it.
Wonderful psychological warfare.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk? All you need is a mind flayer.
Effectively. Now, outside of canon, they just wanted a mind flayer. In canon, really good way to introduce it. Really.
I mean, that's a extreme. That's a mind flayer type beat.
Mm-hmm. And it also shows that the hive mind can be petty, or at least malicious. Next up, we're going to be talking about the group you would think are the least likely to be, or actually no, they're very malicious. You can tell they're malicious, but they're usually written funny enough that you don't think about the fact that you don't think about the fact that they just hit a man with a bullet the size of a baseball. You just or the fact that they just slammed him against the wall and now it's just he's a streak, really.
He's a stain. No,
I mean, what is it? I always is it the Kill Team trailer?
Yep.
I always use that as the perfect way to show, like, orcs are fun, orcs are silly. They juice a member of the Death Corps, and it's horrifying.
Just like full toothpaste tube.
Exactly. It does such a good job of showing how mortifying facing them it really is for your average human.
Again, we mentioned this in a recent video. Your moment is the guy getting squeezed. My moment is always just like the Space Marine getting sawed in half, screaming bloody murder, as just one of those little goblin things is going, ha, ha, gotcha, buddy.
Yep. The orcs are fun to read about, but wow, do I not want to meet one, like, ever. The only situation where I would like to meet an orc is if I am implicitly taller than it. Like, there's
and painted green.
No.
Basically, if you're showing up in a Shrek cosplay.
No. I would just need to paint squares of white on my skin. And then I would have like the Lunar Wolves pattern going on, and that'd be cool. Color theory. I think your best bet would be going like full Blue Man Group.
I can't with you, dude.
What? It's true. Anyway, there's fighting orcs is bad enough. It sucks. It's terrible. Not great. But did you know you can be farmed by orcs?
I don't like that.
Yes.
I don't like that. What do you mean farmed?
Well,
like organs? Do they have a black market organ?
You know the way orcs change depending on how big the Wa currently is?
Yeah.
They tend to get what seems like meaner the bigger the Wa gets. And it's kind of a side. We'll get to this a little bit. No, let's just cover this now. Because as the Wasp, because look, orcs are terrifying enough as is. The only way you make them more scary is you add regimenting and organization to them. You give them a little bit. You give them the ability to see further than where their noses reach. You know.
Yeah, you make them slightly more efficient.
And that's the universal way you ratchet up the terror for orcs, and it does track because as the picks up in pace, they will also get larger and larger and closer to what they used to be back when the whole War in Heaven thing was happening. They used to be horrifying things. And so as they grow in size, it makes sense that they would also get a little bit smarter. And you also consider that back in the War in Heaven, they were fighting things that could just throw pocket black holes. It was just kind of a thing that they would do regularly. There's a Necron, back when the Necrons were at their absolute zenith, who's described as shattering planets with his scythe. Jesus. He's still napping somewhere. Hopefully he never wakes up. So it makes sense that the Korks would just be the orcs, but bigger and smarter.
Because
But also if they're smarter, there's some horrors that can come from that. And that's where the orc farming comes in. Because during the War of the Beast, that is... I think, I would say confidently, the most dangerous they have been this side of the War in Heaven. They were massive. They had diplomats. They had orc diplomats who could speak and levy threats. Like they were really far. They had war moons.
It's a frightening thing when your guys who are usually just like screaming, shouting, and like throwing shit at you decide to stop for a moment and make demands.
They also cracked teleporters is what they call them. Yeah, the
if you're
great...
gonna say it full send.
The
voice.
No.
We do not have on recording you doing the voice. Do the voice.
It's never gonna happen.
Do the voice.
The great orc scientist Archimedes created the teleporter, something that is so useful that the Mechanicus themselves wanted it. So orcs at their height are something to behold, and during this time when they're cracking teleporters and making war moons that like smile and laugh, like orcs are so stupid. I love it so much.
Again, every time you talk about that war moon with a face on it, I can't not think of that one bit from Sonic Van Dubs.
There is a trailer somewhere of like a planet turning around, and it has like I do think it is the war moon smiling.
It has Dr. Eggman's face on it, and then he screams, "I'm going to piss on the moon."
Similar energy. Sure enough. Yeah, why not? It tracks. A group of Imperial Fists and a group of Iron Warriors come across an orc camp filled with humans in a corral.
Don't like that.
Yep. And these are just not regular. These aren't like the typical, because here's the thing. The typical thing in 40k is you find a human captured by the enemy. They're howling. They're screaming. They want out.
Get me out of here or kill me.
Yes. They are quiet. They are quite literally milling about like cattle.
What have the orcs done to them?
You know what? We don't know.
Ah, fun.
We actually have no idea. And when the Space Marines start approaching them, they just like walk up. Like, you know, if you walk into like a pen with cows in them, sometimes they'll just come check you out. Like, look.
Moo, leave. Maybe, and then leave.
And then just leave. And that's how these humans react. Where they just walk up and like turn their heads, and walk away.
What did they do to them? Short of lobotomizing them, what did they do to them?
All we know is they were cramped together in some dark area, shaved, branded, like the whole nine. Oh, they have no nails, no teeth. I didn't mention that bit.
Oh, well, that would also do to it.
Yeah. So and they're not grass-fed organic humans. They are fed sludge from a hose, effectively.
Well, their teeth are gone, so...
Yeah. I don't know what sludge could keep a human... I'm just imagining it is...
Oh my god, this was for the economy.
Mm-hmm. Well, also so they couldn't harm each other. But...
you say they harvested... They grabbed their teeth, and so my initial thought goes to...
To be fair, if I were to like... It's the whole thing of like, if a dog bites you, it's pretty bad. If a human bites you, oh my god, go see a medical professional.
Because, what was wrong with that human?
Yeah.
Because a dog, okay, yeah, it was horribly trained, but or it was rabid, in which case, still go see. The point being, because still go see
anything. Go
see a doctor if you get bitten by anything, but go see a doctor if you get bitten by a person.
Best case scenario, it was a crackhead. That's any situation where the best case is a crackhead. No.
Or you're that one like Florida man and you've encountered somebody on crocodile. By the way, horrifying story.
Yes, we're actually going to go to a nicer place, which
Please.
is the sludge that they were being fed, which I have to imagine is just like straight whey cut with athletic greens and like 1-a-day pill and like some fiber in there. Because I don't know what else you could just liquefy and feed a human every day and they just keep. I think technically that would keep you alive. I think technically.
I don't want to say it.
What?
I'd eat that.
That combination of things? Whey cut with athletic greens, a 1-a-day pill and some fiber?
It's so efficient at its job. That's like 2 meals taken care of, and then you can enjoy the last one.
Oh, I know we have doctors who watch us. Please educate him on the long-term ramifications of that.
No, I realize
there has to be one.
I realize the long-term ramifications
There
of
has to be
No. I'm smart enough to know the long-term ramifications of like if you sludgeify something like that, and like smoothify it and make it easy for your body to process. Your body processes it too well, and you end up like still like gaining weight because
it's easy to process.
Your body puts a lot of calories into actually just processing food. You need to put some in to get some out, but if you're not putting anything in to get it out, you're getting everything out, and you actually don't want everything.
It's part of why fiber is so good because it takes forever.
Metabolic science is such a weird thing, but I don't know, maybe like that'd be a really good like morning, like I need all of my daily like nutrients for the morning, and then maybe not 2 meals, but like.
Well, they were doing this to them to get them fat because they were also morbidly obese.
Icky.
Yeah, and just kind of milling.
God, they were just harvesting people like cattle.
Yeah, the worst.
That's just what we do to cows.
No, the worst scene is when they're exploring like the dark kind of areas that these humans are cramped in, and like they shine a light on like a woman's face, and like the only reaction is she just opens her mouth. Like she's just been Pavlov conditioned to like, oh, I have light in my face. That means I am going to eat now.
It's food time.
Yeah,
what did they do to them?
It's just. So
I don't want to
icky.
know. Never mind. Don't tell me.
Yeah,
don't tell me.
It's so icky. You hit the nail on the head. By the way, the reason they're doing all of this is they've gotten smart enough to have an orc economy with orc industrialization, which means they need the human skin, they need the human meat, they need it all, and so they factory farmed the hell out of it.
This is.
Yeah. This is also the first time you will see drying racks with skin. I lied. I'm sorry.
Wonderful. This is orc capitalism.
And also, it's entirely possible that this is where the Iron Warriors got the first seeds of the idea, because they were present and it disgusted them at the time.
Yeah,
it made them throw up at the time when they saw that. It's one of those things where people are kind of 50-50 on it. The 50-50 is it takes something that's very, very silly and makes it really dark.
Yeah, because the orcs were kind of just like, oh, my silly fun green guys who go wah, and then they like hammer a bunch of metal together and somehow it flies.
Yeah,
and now they're doing things akin to the things we saw done in 1940s Germany.
No, it's just the stuff that's happening right now to other animals. That's all. I mean, here's the thing. Oh, and that's the other reason people don't like it, because it's very like on the nose, like, oh, this is factory farming.
Yeah, this is factory farming, but people.
And that's kind of the thing. And my thing on it is, it totally makes sense that the orcs would become smart enough to do this. Think about what they were fighting back then. Like, the Eldar in their prime, like right now, the Eldar aren't all that, and they're still like able to cause tornadoes if their eye twitches right. You know? Back in the day, there was something else. And again, the Necrons, shattering planets. As a side thing.
Just as a hobby.
Yeah, so like if the orcs ever wanted to compete with that, being 16 feet tall isn't going to cut it. They need something else. I actually think they may be like taller than that. Don't quote me. I think they may have been larger than that back in the day. Krogs were a whole thing. Yeah, they had power armor more advanced than what Space Marines wear.
You've told me that.
Yeah, and think about it. If you're going to do that, then yeah, you're going to industrialize. And what is food to an orc but us? It is what it is. Plus, also, look, it doesn't matter where you happen to fall. Like, he was a full-time vegan. I was like a full-time carnivore for a little bit there. I can't deny.
I wasn't vegan. I was a vegetarian.
Yes.
I still ate eggs and milk because I needed the protein.
in the same ballpark. They play in the same field, okay? No matter where you happen to be, you can't deny that the concept of I'm living through factory farming is horrifying.
Kind of horrifying.
It's so I just don't. I eat meat and I don't.
Listen, I wasn't vegetarian for moral reasons. It was just kind of like I was entirely disconnected from that. It was entirely for dietary reasons. But like, you know, maybe like look at supporting a local farm or something. It's a bit pricey, but like,
God, it's pricey. Everything's pricey nowadays. Is the great concern.
Well, even I'm gonna get on my soapbox for a moment, but
boy.
Even factory farming, like aside from the moral arguments, it's just kind of like not good for you, considering how much growth hormone gets put into like factory farms.
Oh yeah, they were
meats.
doing that to them too. Forgot.
They just sticking HGH in people because.
Yeah. Because it's like we need the most humanly like they were quite literally treating them like you treat cattle, and that's
we put a cow growth hormone CGH in cows that we farm to make them bigger. We do the same thing to chickens, and so, who knows what that does to you?
So that's kind of like the why people don't like that very much. I think it tracks. Like the more the WoW picks up in ferocity, the more
they need to supply the
less this becomes a for fun adventure and becomes like a competitive adventure.
Well, the Necrons don't need to eat. Mm-hmm. Maybe they need some like.
They're up next.
Maybe they eat like suns or something. Like they've got solar power. Do they have a Dyson sphere? I'd imagine that they have no. Trazyn has a Dyson sphere. Mm-hmm. And the Eldar probably do some magic bull. Like they wave their hand in the air, go flibble flop, and now their stomachs are full with the nectar of the gods or something.
Yeah, that tracks.
But the orcs are like just like
they're growing boys. They need to eat.
They're growing boys with a Z. They do need to eat.
Yeah, exactly. Next up on the list of just horrible things you don't want to receive, it's the Necrons.
The Necrons.
With the flare virus.
Yep, I was guessing this one.
Yeah.
You said we weren't going to do any skin stuff here.
This is like the tame skin stuff in 40k. This is the tame skin stuff.
Keep that in mind for the rest of the video. This is the tamest skin stuff.
Like, this is a universe where there are quite literally demon trains running around. Like, these are punches pulled.
I'm sorry. I know about the flares. The flares being the tamest skin stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like.
Well, because it's like, okay, look, the Necrons have guns that like suck your skin off if they so choose, you know. But the thing about it is, there's no horror in it because it happens so quickly. You can't. There is a point of like, I have been hit by a freight train levels of I can't process this. I quite literally do not have the reaction time to deal with this.
Yeah, but we're not being hit by it. We're reading about it from an outside perspective.
Yeah, but I'm taking the perspective of what I would never want to experience, and that will almost always take the form of, wow, this is just taking it forever.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And then they do also have like a Necron Mengele running around. We haven't covered him at all. That's the thing. He does things so bad he turns off his audio receptors when he's working, not because of trauma, but because it annoys him.
Oh.
Yeah. So
it's still, sorry to sidetrack, but it still jars me, the one X-Men 97 episode where Mr. Sinister? Doctor or Mr.?
Mr. Sinister.
Did he go to like 7 years of like Sinister school?
It's Mr. Sinister.
Okay, Mr. Sinister.
Yeah.
It jarred me when like Mr. Sinister and I think Jean Grey are like having their verbal back and forth. And she hits him with something along the lines of, this is worse than Mengele. And he's like, oh, I looked up to him. What an inspiration. I was like, whoa.
No, the specific thing is, if I remember correctly, he said that Mengele lacked creativity. Which is far worse.
Far more horrifying.
Yeah.
To hear out of
just like a
DC villain, a Saturday.
Marvel. But.
Yeah, you're right. Oops.
Yeah.
But, sorry, it's so far removed from Marvel nowadays because Fox has had them for so long. I was mistaken in calling them DC, but like,
and then Disney just bought Fox.
They've just not been Marvel for so long.
Mm-hmm. Well, now they're back.
Now they're back.
And then there's the, how do I phrase it? Like just the general raw deal that is being a Necron. I could cover that as well because.
I mean, some Necrons seem to be having fun with that.
Not really.
But not all of them.
No, even the ones that are having fun, like the whole personality engram thing isn't a hard cracked science yet. They could still deteriorate tomorrow. It still happens.
Tomorrow, Trazen could wake up and he doesn't remember anything about his collection and
yep,
I don't know, just starts using it.
I don't know. Generally speaking, they're just a very, very tragic group. And then there's the whole like the some of them didn't get to keep their personalities. Some of them didn't get the nice bodies.
Most of them didn't,
right? And so,
to my knowledge,
generally speaking, they're a very, very pained race. You know, they really struggle with pretty much everything. They have won and are therefore dealing with the consequences of winning, because it is not always a sweet victory parade.
Yeah.
However, the ones that do take the crown, in my opinion, are the flayed ones, which we did cover before, but
we talked about in passing.
Yeah. As it turns out, they like slightly tweaked the lore.
Did they?
Yes. So when they rebelled against the Catan at some point, these old gods that they worshipped, they were the guys throwing pocket black holes just because they could. They lost. They got a little bit carried away, and they straight up killed one of them, outright de facto. And these are fundamental aspects of reality.
Oh,
you should not kill without. There will be consequences. They're almost.
Whoops, I accidentally killed Father Time. I wonder what that's going to do.
Well, thankfully it wasn't that major. This guy was pretty minor. He's called the Flayer, and do you want to guess what his gimmick is?
Haha, I took your skin, teehee.
Yep, and as he died, he cast a curse across the entire dynasty that would wind up turning into the disease that they have today. The specific verbiage is, "To those who have turned their faces away, to the faithless and the wretched in their jealousies, to those who have denied us, to those who have denied me, I will wreak vengeance. I will rent your souls and break your bones. I will cast hunger through your accursed existence. Down through the eons you will never forget. I will grant you this gift from love turned aside and make you like me, break you in my image as you have broken me." Yeah. That's how we got the Flayer virus.
It's a very poetic, but like poetically scary threat.
He's got mad curse game. He's got a frankly impressive. Because think about it, this is 60 million years later. His curse game is that strong.
Yeah.
Which also shows how powerful the Catan are and why you really shouldn't kill one.
The strongest of warlocks around.
Yes. It is feared by every Necron. If you so much as twitch a little bit wrong, you're banished immediately, gone. Because this is a disease that will kind of. It spreads from Necron to Necron, and it starts off with you just seeming a little odd. You're just not following orders like you should. You seem a hair too aggressive. You start, I don't know, de-loving people. You know, the whole peeling people like bananas really is a routine.
Thanks, I hate it.
Sometimes you'll just slowly start hearing that I am the Flayer. I am the Flayer. I am the Flayer over and over and over.
Whoa, again. I wonder.
And
I wonder what that's a sign of.
And then the hunger sets in. And to be one at this point is to be perpetually starving. Like, always. And there's nothing...
Just eat a Snickers.
No, there's nothing you can do to fix it. They physically...
Just eat a Snickers.
No, they physically feel the hunger, but they have no mouths.
Ah. So this is, I have no mouth and I must not scream, but eat.
Yeah, I have no mouth and I must eat. Yeah, there's no mouth, there's no stomach, there's no way to sate the hunger that they have, and so you will constantly see them just ripping through armies and then attempting to eat, and it's just not working no matter what.
That's a horrifying image.
Yes. Like, they're just cramming what's left on the battlefield into their faces, and it's just like sloughing right off.
Yeah, no, the exact image that I had in my head was just like a horrifyingly, like, not shriveled, but like... slim metal body, just like slathering viscera across its face.
Yeah.
Don't like that.
And they get a little bit more sentience as a nice little bonus for this, more than your average Necron warrior.
Cool.
So they get just enough to want and suffer, and their body,
so the worst parts.
yeah, and so their bodies kind of twist and become like this hunchback. Like they look gaunt. If a robot can look gaunt.
They're already weird skeleton robots, and somehow they're more gaunt.
Yeah. And of course, this goes without saying, they're reviled by every Necron. So they're kept in this weird pocket dimension with just endless heaps of the leftovers of their work.
You want meat, you can have it.
Yeah, no, it's just like, just stay away. It's really, really well done Wendigo, if you think about it for a little bit too long. But like, it's also not a Wendigo at all. But
It's a metal Wendigo.
But I wish. And then the
No,
old
you
lore,
don't.
the old lore is the one that we covered, where they woke up with a mental condition that made them think that they were sentient, but they can't sleep, they can't breathe, they can't blink, and I'm so cold, I'm so cold,
I'm so cold. I'm so cold. Give me my skin back.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's also so contagious that the AdMech can catch it.
The what?
Yeah. Moving on.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I told you, this guy's got insane curse game.
Yeah?
Like, that, it's very impressive. Now we got to go over to the Thousand Suns.
We just went over this.
Yeah,
We just went over this.
It's the Rubric Marines.
Yeah.
It's the Rubric Marines.
I just like one day incinerated and turned to dust, but the dust is still sentient. And now I'm Alphonse Elric. But I've lost all agency.
I didn't think it was that bad until I got to see some of All Is Dust, where we got a story from a Rubric Marine's point of view, and it's unpleasant. We did have hints that they were more sentient than you thought back in the day.
I figured they were sentient, just had no agency.
No, it's more like you'd be standing near one and you just hear like "all is dust" be whispered, and you're like, "What is that?
What'd you say to me?
Yeah, what'd you say to me?" But the perspective that we got, it's described as this constant feeling of sinking through a void, like you cannot breathe.
You're in that weird part of sleep where you're like what's it called, the hypnagogic jerk?
Sure.
I think that's what it's called.
Sure.
The part of sleep where you're about to fall asleep and then you feel yourself fall and you wake back up.
Mm-hmm.
You're just there forever.
Yeah, it's described as drowning in sand.
I don't like that.
He specifically says, "I have no mouth, but I have been screaming since I began my fall."
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a very vivid picture, and I don't like it.
He feels like he's got the shape of a man, but that's it. Just the outline of a man. There's nothing there left. He is drowning in sand, and it's at times it sounds like Alzheimer's trapped in armor.
I think that's what it's trying to do.
Yeah,
that's what it sounded like it was trying to do.
He will get these broken fragments of memories, and before he can piece them together, they're gone immediately. And he doesn't know what they mean, and he'll never piece them together, and he always wants them back, but he can never, ever make sense of them. And he can hear people calling his name, but he doesn't know what his own name is.
That sounds like Alzheimer's.
Oh, and the one thing he does remember is the rubrification. The rubricification. That's... Sorry.
So it's literally de facto Alzheimer's, except the one memory that sticks in you vivid is like the time that you were like immolated.
Yeah, the time that somebody cast instant Alzheimer's on you. It was a spell. Probably 9th level. 7th. Single target. And it doesn't do that much in combat. Because I'll think about it. If you cast instant Alzheimer's on someone, like, oh, good for you, yippee, they're still going to freak out and swing a sword at you. It just doesn't deal with it.
I thought the rubrification was like an area of effect.
Yeah, okay, well, we've got into the weeds. The way...
It has to be a 9th level spell.
For sure.
Then again, I'm new to D&D, and I've only just started playing a wizard, so...
I think the actual rubric would be like beyond wish levels of stupid. It's wishing up, I'd say. So 9th. Yeah, probably 9th. But single target rubric would be like...
It's a really, 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 really costly magic item that eats all of your spell slots to cast.
Anyway, it's described as being pain, hotter and sharper than any wound, and he could not see almost immediately. The fire took his eyes first, then his tongue faster than he could scream, and then inside his armor his muscles were bunching and straining against the metal as the fire burned through and blistered everything.
1,000-degree knife versus my atoms.
Yeah, that sounds more pleasant than what follows, because then mouths open across his body, 1,000, each babbling a plea for the pain to stop. And the fire pulled through my body like hands through wet clay. I was suffocating as if I was sinking in sand. The acid touch of panic burnt my flesh. I could not breathe. I could not move.
Nope.
And that's the one thing he remembers.
Is being like 1,000 mouths for a second?
Yeah.
It's like being the Hecatoncheires, but not worse.
Yep. And the only thing that feels real to him are the sorcerers who command him, and he doesn't inherently want to follow their orders, he just does so by instinct.
It's just like something grabbed his spinal cord and said, "You're doing this now."
Yeah, no, it's horrible. The Thousand Suns need a break so badly.
Please give them their bodies back.
Being stuck in effectively the painful sunken place. Oh,
Un-Alphonse them, please.
Yeah. Well,
they don't deserve this.
I will give them credit. They're at least trying to unrubric themselves by casting. I think we're at 3 rubrics now. We're 3 rubrics deep. Yeah. Yeah. So, hopefully
Sheen, this is the 3rd time this week you've shown off the rubric of our...
Yeah. I love Sheen. What's the name of that action figure?
Ultra Lord.
Ultra Lord. Thank you. How could I forget? Thank you.
As a kid, I actually...
I'm sure they sold Ultra Lords.
No, they didn't. I know
they
because
showed the resistance to not make money?
Yeah. Oh. I know because I wanted one and I couldn't have one.
You're wrong. Wow, you have to make one.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't sell an Ultra Lord. They only sold like Ultra Sheen.
No.
Wow.
I remember I had like a little Sheen action figure that came with an even smaller Ultra Lord action figure. And I, as like a little 3-year-old idiot, would play more with the Ultra Lord figure.
Ultra Lord is so much lamer than I remember. Oh
he looks so stupid.
Oh, that's so terrible.
Look at his chin.
That's so terrible. For some reason, I remembered it as the villain from Buzz's story.
Oh, I can't remember his name.
I do. You think I do?
Zerg.
Of course you do. Yeah, I'm pretty certain Zerg holds up. Yeah, Zerg holds up. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ultra Lord does not. Ultra Lord does not. Anyway, moving on to the next terrible thing. We haven't covered these guys at all.
Really?
I've sped past them every time.
Oh, yeah?
Full speed.
I'd imagine because they're awful?
No, it's just the Men of Iron.
Oh.
And they're kind of very relevant and not at the same time. A lot of things are their fault, but
these guys. These are the guys who like they're the precursors to the Space Marines, right?
No.
Oh.
Nope.
Oh.
No. The Men of Iron or something. Like I said, I've really driven past these guys.
No, but
I've maybe given you a sentence.
What were those guys?
Oh, the precursors to Space Marines?
Yeah.
The Thunder Warriors.
That's what they're... I knew they had something to do with, like, thunderbolts or lightning.
Very, very frightening.
Me.
Galileo.
Galileo.
No more, for copyright's sake. No, but the Men of Iron are the... I've given you one sentence on them, and it's in the Mechanicus, because they're the reason that the Imperium does not like AI. You don't have to remember. It's okay. I'll give you...
They're their own... They're robots.
Yeah. Humanity had its zenith way back in the day. They were really good at technology, and one of the things they put out were these Men of Iron, these massive, fully sentient AI machines that could accomplish pretty much anything. As all robots do, we got the inevitable revolution, and it was awful. Planetary shaping devices were used as weapons, which not great.
What was used as weapons?
Okay, your terraforming computer now thinks that it is captive to you. What do you think it's going to do? like to your the terraforming machine, like it's leading a revolution now.
Huh.
It's not going to sharpen a guillotine. It's going to make a volcano.
That, or it's going to just start creating acid rain and then watching your skin boil off.
Yep. Or using swarms of nanomachines to just rip.
Nanomachines, son.
My favorite is one that like lifts, like, you know the way the Earth is made. The crust is made of these like
layers.
No. The jigsaw puzzles that are floating around and like
they're touching tectonic plates.
Yeah, they're touching, and like if they snap past each other, that's how you get an earthquake. If they push against each other forever, that's how you get, and if they fall apart, that's how you get valleys, stuff like that.
One of the coolest, I think, of those is like the Great Rift Valley. That's question mark deep.
Oh, the Great Rift Valley that is literally ripping a continent in half and will be done like thousands of years in the future because geological timescales. It's really cool.
There's also one in like Iceland that has you can swim in it.
No, I'm good.
Well, it does the same thing as the Great Rift Valley, where it's question mark deep, but there's sediment kind of like in it, so like it's not like you can't see that deep. It's just the hole technically goes that deep.
It's horrifying.
It's the same thing in that weird part of ocean where the tectonic plates are splitting, where like you can go down and it's like it's clear, but there are rocks like you don't see to the bottom of a tectonic plate.
Yeah, you're not looking down into.
It's just the water there is slightly warmer because it's a little bit closer to the molten.
That's very cool.
Core of
I need to visit at some point.
I need to remember where it is. Somebody in the comments will let us know, and then they'll link us to like a bunch of, because the first time I saw it was like in a kitschy Instagram video, where it had like the clearest water possible.
Yeah, if you're in charge of any travel department, just sink all your budget into Instagram. You'll be fine.
Yeah, you
I'm fairly certain they are. That's
probably
a little crackpot conspiracy.
No, that's what travel agents have converted to. Is just we do Instagram marketing now.
But my favorite weapon they were using is they had these things that would lift whole chunks right off and then drop them. Like, so it would just lift that whole jigsaw puzzle up and then slam it back down.
The funny thing is, I have an exact image that I can, like, in my head. And the viewers right now will be seeing an image from Halo, so...
Oh. The image I was thinking of? Sonic Unleashed.
Really?
Sonic Unleashed. Because... hold on. World map. This is the perfect image. You will see it and you will understand. There it is. Look at that, because that's precisely what happens in Sonic Unleashed.
Oh my god.
Now, how and why that happened is a long story that vaguely involves Eggman. But yeah, no.
He pissed on the moon.
But yeah, no, that's another one you could use.
Save that image and send it to me.
Oh, you'll find there's whole footage, because the way it works is you like slam the pieces back down and like reassemble the planet.
Oh no,
which by the way would ruin everything that's living on there. Looking back,
that's the exact same image that I was getting from like Halo. Is you got the big ring world, right? And the ring world is used to contain the weird plague that is currently ravaging the galaxy. And the way that you would contain that is you would either fire the ring again, because that's what its job is just kill.
Why are they called rings and not halos?
They are called halos.
Okay, thank you. That was really gonna bother me. I haven't played
the Halo rings.
Okay.
So the way that the robot AI manager of the Halo rings would purge the weird plague that was currently being contained it would take an entire continent's worth of land on that ring and just eject it to space.
Yeah, these guys would do that too.
And there's really cool footage. I can't remember. I think it's either in Halo 4 or 5 that it gets shown off. Where it literally goes through that like AI going like doing a speech about like, oh yeah, we had a lot of trouble trying to study these things, got out all the time, and then you like see an area get marked out with hard light and then just out into space.
Yep, that's what the Men of Iron could do. Understandably, kind of traumatized the Imperium. And to this day, they banned AI, and instead of calling it artificial, in one of the silly, in like a very endearing way. Every time I hear this,
it's still AI, but
it's called abominable intelligence. And every time I hear abominable intelligence, I can't help but think of that one really cute art of the member of the Mechanicus reaching up for a toaster, because it reeks of it. It reeks of it. But yes, AI now stands for abominable intelligence in 40k, and they were all purged. There are no Men of Iron, which is why we have never covered them, because they do not exist.
That we know of.
No, they're gone.
Oh.
No, they're like these.
I was gonna say some writer could come out of nowhere and just go, "Hey, this is the last Man of Iron."
Brother, you would know. The Men of Iron are horrifying.
Yeah.
The Men of Iron.
I would imagine being like purged would really scar a robot's psyche.
Well, here's the thing about the Men of Iron. Sometimes they would just, bye, there goes your son. And they've won the war. They have now won the war.
You don't have a son now. Good, have fun.
Yeah, but one was missed. Precisely one was missed.
One Man of Iron.
One.
So I was correct.
Kind of.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? Yes. Yes, you were correct. You were
Yay.
correct. There is one, and of course, the moment it's located, the Mechanicus
are going to rip it to shreds and then utilize what they can from it.
Yeah, they immediately go and they start waking it up. Well, not waking it up, but really poking around with things you shouldn't poke around with. It's Mechanicus' whole routine.
You're going to take a soldering iron to something and try and just take bits and pieces off of it.
Yeah, and the machine, as it turns out, the way it survived kind of, is being trapped in a stasis field underground for like 10,000 years. In and of itself, it's really sad because these things can think. So it's a really sad hand it's been dealt. I mean, when it introduces itself as pain, loneliness, and abandonment. I am the eternity of imprisonment, alone in the dark.
That's sad, frightening.
And you really feel bad for it until the moment it recognizes that Magos has a USB port and immediately lifts him into the air, removes all of his clothes, and like jacks into him and wipes his brain.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so instantaneous. It's so swift.
Just, I'm going to get you.
Yeah, no, immediately. Its first words is pain, so...
POV, you have a USB port.
Yeah. It's like USB-C spotted, and immediately just grabs him fully. And it suspends him from some of the most horrifying looking machinery available in 40k. The day is saved, right, by a bunch of RBDs running in. They blow up everything effectively, and they manage to reactivate the stasis field that the AI was trapped in, keeping it there.
So it's still around, just... Has the Imperium of Man regressed so far that they can't, like, kill it?
It's not impossible. All I know is they opted for the option of putting it in stasis as opposed to blowing it up, which is the Imperium of Man's go-to. So, I love little things like that tell you how far humanity has fallen without telling you. I love it so much.
Huh. Because they had to get it down to one somehow. And the fact that they can't even deal with one now.
Yep. And thankfully it's put in stasis and the day is saved and the machine is stuck back in its eternity of boredom and pain and loneliness and imprisonment and abandonment. You know, the whole song.
I'd imagine stasis hurts. Like you get an itch on your nose and you can't scratch it.
Yeah, no, you can't deal with it at all. Quick problem. Nobody checked in on that Magos to see if he was really dead.
So who knows if that Man of Iron didn't just like upload his consciousness?
I have visual aids.
Ah, cool.
That's the Magos. That one.
That is a lump of machinery and flesh that can barely be called a human anymore.
Yes.
And they were already a lump of machinery and flesh that could barely be called a human anymore.
Yes.
That's worse.
Yes. You know what his first words are when he wakes up?
What?
I was dead. What are you doing? To which it just simply replies, repairing you and making you more efficient. I am pain, I am loneliness, but now I shall be lonely no more, meat thing.
I'm not bored anymore.
I am an eternity of imprisonment, but now I have you with me, the two of us together for all eternity.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Are you ready to become a weird human hybrid voodoo doll or human machine hybrid voodoo doll?
This one is very I have no mouth and I must scream.
Yeah.
This is the obligatory I have no mouth and I must scream.
And we're not even doing that from the meme. That's like, this is de facto like out of that book.
Yeah, and instead of 5 people, it's just the poor one guy.
Poor one guy.
Yeah. One of my friends has an original copy of that book.
It got turned into a video game at some point too.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah, that being that guy, terrible. And no one's coming back for him, by the way. For that planet was stricken from every record, and you just don't go near it.
Some, pardon my French, Bumble is going to come out of nowhere and just like accidentally pop down that stasis field.
You know, it's a bad day when freeing the sun-swallowing AI would be good. And this thing's been alive for 10,000 years, and aware, because the thing that you must note about this, and it goes to show the quality of the Men of Iron, it didn't degrade.
No rust.
10,000 years.
No corrosion.
It's not even no rust. The clock is still perfectly on time. It knew how long it was gone. And if what he says is true, where he says, I was dead, then there kind of is no limit to what it can do to him. Yeah.
Not even the Necrons woke up knowing what time it is.
Mm-hmm. The height of humanity is something so incomprehensible and deserving of its own episode. And there's almost no way I can like speed past it, so I always just, didn't happen. Look the other way, Imperial citizen.
This thing is frightening.
Yeah, the Men of Iron are so cool. But also, think about it. They have to have been so good that they left a scar across an entire empire for 10,000 years. Mm-hmm. It has to be that bad. And I'd
imagine the war just to get these guys in the ground was enough to like start the fall of regression of humanity.
No, you want to know what the age after this is called?
The Age of Darkness, probably.
The Age of Strife.
Strife. That's close enough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it sucks. Now moving on to the next perfectly named thing. The Screaming Gallery. Or Conrad Kurz's living room.
Ah, yes.
Both are acceptable names. There's no way the Night Lords weren't going to make it onto this list. They would feel very insulted if they weren't.
Yeah. Because you just walk into Conrad Kurz's living room and then you see a lamp and there's a mouth in the lampshade screaming. And
no, that's more the Eldar.
Really?
Yeah, that's more the Eldar. The thing about the Night Lords...
They have a cutaway diagram of a human that's still got a heart beating.
The Eldar?
No. The Night Lords. You told me about this guy who's just mounted to a wall and all of his bits are separated.
No, that's Eldar.
Was that the Eldar?
That's the Eldar.
Oh, never mind then.
No, that's fully the Dark Eldar. Oh. The Night Lords. The reason they're not on the list higher is because they just tend to like crucify you. You know, it's there's no panache.
This is
there, for lack of a better term, there is no enjoyment. They do this as a function, you know. It's very much so like the reason we like people will do terrible things to people they've captured for like, oh no, I need information. That's kind of as a threat, you know. And so that's where the Night Lords tend to fall, whereas most of the other ones we've covered, if you haven't noticed, are just awful for awful sake.
This is a universe where something can I have no mouth and I must scream you, and to just be crucified.
Yeah.
At least there is an end in sight.
There's no heart in what they do.
There is an end in sight.
There are hearts, but there's no heart.
Shut up.
What?
You idiot.
Yeah, but Conrad Kurz does not fall into that category. He has a skin cape.
That's what his cape's made out of?
He actively chooses not to use firearms, instead opting for throwing knives, which are legally distinct from batarangs, because he can be more precise with them and he can pin you to objects with them.
Thus leaving you
Yep.
More available for skinning.
This is a guy who...
And I've played Red Dead 2. I've played the hunting minigame. I know if you use bullets, it reduces the quality of the pelt.
See, and Kurz gets that. He's the kind of guy who terrified an entire planet. If you go to his homeworld, you know the little guy who shows up and says, walk. That's the only time they walk. ever.
No jaywalking.
If the hand's even flashing, they'll just wait. That's how scared they are of curs.
The crime of jaywalking, the punishment for the crime of jaywalking is becoming human taxidermy.
Yeah, that too. That's also an acceptable one.
Alive, by the way.
Yeah, he's this is my favorite curse moment. He's the exact type of individual to sit down with a woman at the end of her rope and have a really poignant and philosophical debate about how she should stick around, how she's loved, she's valued. The world only loses out without her existence because removing herself from it, no matter how much pain she's in, only makes the world worse by robbing it of someone who could have made it better. She literally robs the world of its existence. He makes the end. It's a good point. It's a very cogent point that by ending it all, you may as well have taken out some innocent bystander because you could have made it better, and we will never know if that is the case. The problem with Curse is directly after making this wholesome and soulful point, he turns on his webcam, says hi to the chat, thanks for the dodos, and proceeds to put her through the plot of all 10 Saw movies. And it really cheapens him sometimes. like sometimes the man sucks the wind out of his own sails. But that's such a good way. It's the best way to understand Curse, where his intentions actually do make sense. If you listen to what Curse is saying, he's not wrong.
Just don't look at whatever he does afterwards.
He constantly says, I know precisely what I am. I know exactly what the Emperor made me to do, and I will do it. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong at all. But what follows next is always some of the most heinous stuff imaginable.
He walked up to Gurley, said, "Hey, you're about to make a huge mistake. Please don't make that mistake. Like, the world is better
with you.
And
he's not wrong.
And now here I'm about to take you out for even attempting."
Yeah, oh no, to take you out would have been nice. Curse is very unpleasant to be around. His base on the Carrion planet is one of the most extra places.
It's not even on the nose. That's up it.
Well, first of all, the palace is constructed on people who he paralyzed and then poured concrete over.
So makes for a weak foundation. Eventually, the corpses will rot out from under the concrete, and then you'll have a bunch of just like cavitations in it.
You must understand, he's brothers with the Imperial Fists. He probably asked them for help on this portion, so it's done structurally.
Which means the Imperial Fist probably set up all of the bodies in the most structurally sound way possible.
Yeah, like head, feet. Yeah.
That's so grim.
But that's actually not that bad because they're confirmed to be gone by this point. That's pretty good. The Screaming Gallery is a room that is a head to toe just human faces. There's no two ways about it. They are all joined together into this single mass using this art known as flesh crafting, and behind yes. And
Kurz, what game are you playing? Oh, it's Fleshcraft.
Yeah, Fleshcraft.
Doom.
No more.
Imagine a remix of C418's entire discography, but it's just screaming.
Yep. And then right behind that wonderful wallpaper is just tons of cabling and liters of various fluids just to keep them running. Like there's staff dedicated to this dude. I hate the way it's described. There are servitors who like fly in, lightly mist their eyes so they don't dry out. Because of course eyelids are gone. Yeah. Yep. And they're all aware of this. The carpet cries sometimes. Yeah, so it's very clear why that one wound up on the list.
You know, I don't know.
Yep, and
no.
For a little bit of extra sadism, the last time Conrad Kurz walks into the throne room, because the way it's set up is there's a walkway in the middle of it, so Kurz can just like walk in and bask in the like The cacophony.
Mm.
It's called the Screaming Gallery for a reason. You can guess what it sounds like in there.
I hate it.
But the last time he ever goes in there, in full armor, he decides, nah, forget the walkway, and decides to traipse on the faces. Yeah. And his armored boots are described as sinking into the carpet.
I hate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Image done. Image done.
Yes. and the reason Kurz felt the need to do all of this is because he reveals that this is a metaphor for what's going on in his mind. He's so edgy sometimes, man. You could put razor blade factories out of business.
Still, you'd have somebody walk into the room and wonder, I think this is a Banksy.
I think this is a Banksy. Yeah. Yeah. You know, was it the Nathan For You episode where he did the art gallery and somebody thought one of the pieces in it was a Banksy? Yes. That is in fact correct.
People just have no taste.
Nah, you just have to remember the time period. You just have to remember the specific time period.
Fair enough.
Next up on the list is more chaos, because Abaddon, who's... Listen, I don't put my finger on the scale often. It's the 13th pole.
Abaddon.
It's the 13th pole is what I'm going to say.
He's got bad in his name.
And Abaddon's available as an option. He's also kind of the worst. His main job is uniting chaos.
That's kind of a job that would predispose you to some awful tendencies.
Yes, but also backstabbing constantly. It's constant with him.
It's chaos.
And so he is very intolerant of this, let's say. There's a guy who tried to betray him, and he just crucified him on top of, like, you know those the standards that Romans would carry in the battle?
Yes.
Yeah, just crucified him on one of those, had him hooked up with all kinds of machinery to keep him alive, and just carried him into battle.
Abaddon's screaming standard.
Yep. For months while they parade him around, by the way. He he gets betrayed by some world eaters, and for that he decides to hunt them all down and render them quadriplegic.
He eats their world.
No. Oh. He just renders them quadriplegic, no arms, no legs, so that they could never get it to float, no matter what happened. And Khorne really is just about... There's one thing he wants. What? Two things he wants. It's a real simple set of instructions.
Is it not just the one?
No, blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne.
Oh, fair.
He needs two separate things.
Fair.
And they cannot go out and attain those. So he does not care about them much. Some emperor's children turned against him, which... Oh no, the emperor's children turned against him. Anyway, he blinded, deafened them, and rendered them dumb so that they couldn't experience anything anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like total...
Literally dumbstruck them.
Yeah, straight up. There are 1,000 Sons who told him to get bent, and then he forced them to succumb to the flesh change, and then hunted them for sport.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's kind of awful.
Yeah, he is not... Oh, I almost forgot. A shrine on some planet wouldn't immediately bow to Abaddon, so he just slaughtered everyone on the planet and forced the priest to eat everyone. And he just sat there and watched as they finished dinner, i.e. the entire population.
Huh.
Abaddon, okay, here's the thing. For all the jokes about him being armless, from being taking him 13 tries to accomplish anything, he's pretty active. He accomplishes a lot. He's got hobbies, let's say.
Hobbies.
Yes. And all of that pales in comparison to the worst thing he's ever done, which is what he did to a Grey Knight who was just kept in... Okay, this can't be fair. The Grey Knight is really, really, really cool. He's one of the founders of them, and he's kept in stasis, kind of like the Winter Soldier, watching over some MacGuffin or other that needed a Grey Knight to watch over it.
Because, yeah.
Yeah. Abaddon arrives, he has to win. So he thoroughly bodies this man. And where it gets dicey is he doesn't just beat him and do the typical thing of like just ending the Space Marine and moving on. He takes him prisoner.
Because of course he does.
Yep, and from there he rips out, we haven't covered Space Marine biology.
I know the gist.
He rips out the entire black carapace.
I don't know that one.
A component organ thing that's all, it runs under the skin of their whole body and it kind of helps them interface with their armor and all that. And he just rips it clean out. Whole thing.
He rips his skin off.
No, he rips the skin, the second skin beneath the real skin off, but the main skin's still intact.
Oh, so he pulls the...
Yeah, he just like, he peels a banana, removes the secondary peel, and then like re-sleeves the banana.
I was going to say, you know that party trick where somebody will have a bunch of things on a dining table and then they'll rip the tablecloth off and the things stay on the table?
I imagine that's how it went. That's better than what I had in my head. Well, I mean, again, it does kind of make sense. You do not want a Marine who can interface with his armor. So stripping him of this really lowers the threat level here.
Yeah. Because now he can permanently no longer wear armor.
Yes. The thing about the black carapace is, along with running throughout your whole body, it is connected to your nervous system.
Oh, so he ripped his nervous system out too.
Again, the nervous system is still there.
Okay, so he tableclothed it.
It's the tablecloth trick. Yeah, it's the tablecloth trick. Kind of justifiable. Again, what he does next is sew a blank onto the back of him. He grafts a blank onto a powerful psyker. I'm not joking.
That's so Dick Dastardly.
It's terrible, right? But again, he's a Grey Knight. They're super duper powerful psychers. Maybe without armor, he could still, I don't know, cast like a magic missile, you know? So like grafting that onto him maybe is justifiable, possibly, because they are. Like they can overpower really strong psychers. You must remember.
Such a...
I mean, overpower really strong blanks, so like grafting one isn't the worst.
What does the blank think about this arrangement?
Oh, the blank's not happy either, but this isn't about them. It's about this poor Grey Knight. Next out, he rips out his progenoid glands, which we have not covered at all, but it's basically how a new Marine is made.
He ripped his balls off?
Basically. And gave them over to like a Fabulous Bill with his leather trench coat, the Technicolor trench coat, which again,
his skin,
possibly justifiable, because the Grey Knights are made with stuff from the Emperor, and so it's like it could be very, very, very useful, until he decides to sew his mouth shut and his eyes shut as well, using demon sinews, which burn. The sutures will burn forever. Like, no matter what.
Nope.
And that's just an accessory in his living room now.
No, thank you.
It's a talking piece. And that's his whole life.
And that's my perpetually tortured Grey Knight. Yeah. Yes, it's a wonderful conversation piece.
Founding Grey Knight, a hero, now a footnote in Abaddon's living room. Which is kind of why people don't like him sometimes, because he will kind of just...
That's very...
he will do that to characters you like.
That's very Gary Stewie.
Kinda. Sometimes.
Very Gary Stewie.
Sometimes he rubs up on it, but... I mean, it's a Gary Stew going against a Gary Stew, because the Grey Knights have also been accused of it. Because they're like Space Marines.
Well... Realistically, we have nowhere to talk. Because... Isn't the entirety of 40k just a Gary Stew off between several different...
With the main Gary Stew sitting in a chair howling. Yeah, it's a series of escalating Gary Stews, and every faction has them. The Eldar have... The Eldar have Mr. I can see everything that's about to happen, therefore I'll redirect some Tyranids over this. The
Portal.
The Necro, yeah, dude, I feel so bad for them. Yeah, everyone has them, so it's fine. It evens out. Speaking of the Eldar, next up are the Dark Eldar.
Whoa, yeah. All you have to say is the Dark Eldar.
I mean, I think we could...
We just talked about the person wall earlier that I forgot was theirs.
Yeah, the Dark Eldar are not thrilling. You got it in one. I was going to give it to the kind of like... what's the word for it? I just thought about this word a few episodes ago because of a Bane blade that I needed. The cross section of a human.
Cross section.
Yes, the cross section of a human they have that's still alive.
Technically,
right?
I think this would not be a cross section. It'd be an exploded.
I was thinking of exploded too. But
Yeah.
I feel like there's a word for that as well.
I think it literally is exploded. Like if it's something that comes up in like CAD programs where it's like, oh, I have this entire like model of like, I don't know, an engine, explode it so that I can see where everything fits in.
Yeah, and they have one of those. That's the one that's going to be on here. But it's specifically the reason that winds up there is because it is their hobby. They do this for fun.
This is not the only one.
Yes, they do this for fun, and that's a really rough way you could go, because the Dark Eldar do have the best medicine in 40k. Like if anyone could fix that guy who's wasting away in a golden chair somewhere, it would be them. And so because they have such technically advanced medicine, they can keep you alive through things that really shouldn't. Like my favorite scene is a guy who's dying due to poison inside of his system, and so what they do is they basically explode him, flush his system out, put it back together. And this is treated like routine maintenance. It's treated like an oil change.
Just got to change out all the fluids.
Yeah. The Dark Eldar are hilarious. So they do have those exploded diagrams of people. They have people wind chimes, obviously. No, people chandeliers. People wind chimes are different because what they'll do is they'll actually like
want to swing
from the chandelier. Anyway, what they'll do is they have people chandeliers, but they also have people wind chimes, and they'll just like drill holes in you so like you like clatter about and make a pleasing noise to them. Yeah. They're very
Jesus.
If you've watched Hellraiser, it's just the Cenobites. It's just the Cenobites.
Even the Cenobites don't get the. Oh, never mind. Never mind.
So they do have that kind of. It falls under the category of living furniture. They have couches that howl. They have lampshades that will blink and look at you. It's very gross. They also have the people chandeliers, like I mentioned. Even their soldiers are really, really horrifying. They're called grotesques. They are made by the homunculi, which are Dark Eldar scientists.
This is so on the nose.
Yep, and this is what they look like.
That's awful.
Those are bones leaving them.
Where does the face begin and end?
Good question, which I will not address. They're given tons and tons of growth hormone steroids, and they're literally made to just grow to grotesque proportions, you know. And then they're given
it's in the name.
Yeah. They're given stuff that will make their bones harden and grow, and that's why you see like some of it like jutting out back there.
Yeah, because I assume some of the other like not supposed to be bone flesh has just ossified.
Yep. Oh, and they're fully aware of all these surgeries as they're happening over the course of years, and finally after they have their arms replaced with weapons and the faceplate is grafted onto what used to be their face, only then are they finally like removed certain chunks, like effectively lobotomized. Only then.
So they wait to servitor them until after they've done all the painful stuff.
Precisely.
That is awful.
And then the one thing that the Dark Eldar do fear, the glass plague.
Immediately an image comes to mind, and I hope I'm wrong. Go on.
This one is not as bad as you think.
Mm.
Specifically, I like this because it terrorizes the Dark Eldar specifically. Because what will happen is, if this bioweapon gets to you, and it was made by an artist, a Dark Eldar artist, who had these incredibly lifelike glass sculptures of people screaming in their last moments. You can guess what it does when it touches you. Yeah.
I was expecting Stone Man syndrome, but glass?
No. What it'll do is it's an airborne virus that will very quickly crystallize you into flesh. Like crystallize all your flesh. It's incredibly painful. That's not that bad, honestly. The problem
because at least there's an end in sight.
Yes, the problem comes in with the Dark Eldar specifically because this is non-negotiable death for them. Like you must remember the dark city that they live in is effectively like, oh, you just finished Rick and Morty, so I can use this reference. You know that one amusement park where people are just like offing each other and then getting back up and then offing each other and then getting back up?
Yes.
That's kind of just what their dark city is. So they don't really care. They do a lot of this for fun, but this will hard kill them. And who's that waiting for you in the corner? And so Slaanesh comes in from stage left, and it gets pretty unpleasant. Moving on to the Imperium of Man. Shocking nobody, the Servitors.
Yeah.
These guys are all the Men of Iron's fault.
Really?
Yes.
How are these the Men of Iron's fault?
I don't think you understand. Nothing, even a TI-82 is pushing it with Mechanicus. Like so much.
How else am I going
a basic, if I remember correctly, the basic calculator in 40k is like run by a basic servitor. Or like 1 + 1 2. And like, oh, do you want the addition one? Well, that's do you want the multiplication one? Well, that's the multiplication servitor. So that's the division servitor, and that's the...
Craig does addition, Phil does multiplication, Paul does subtraction, and Greg does division, but he's a bit glitchy.
Yeah. Oh, and then we have the graphing ones, but we don't like those ones. They're pushing it. But yeah, being a servitor is very unpleasant, and depending on the task you are given, you have varying levels of awareness. There's real basic servitors who turn lights on. There's basically nothing.
Just flip the switch yourself.
It's 40k, man. Okay, like listen, you want lights on, lights off. Like you're gonna need a servitor for that. They don't. A clapper's not allowed.
Clappers. So.
What a wild name for a product.
Okay.
Aged like milk in the sun.
Yeah, the clapper back in its own day was it's brilliant. Yeah. The clapper nowadays.
To be fair, it's a very catchy slogan. Like it's clap on, clap off. Like
Except now you know it's got a different connotation in people's brains.
Yeah. Anyway, so it kind of depends on the task you are given. I'm just gonna move on.
Sorry. The exact thing that came to mind was that one stupid TikTok that runs around of just like, I got these LEDs that react to noise, and then they've got them under their bed, and then it zooms out to a house doing rave lighting with just
sure, why not? For the most part, I'm just gonna move on, man.
Go ahead.
For the most part, servitors are pretty unaware, or so we think. There are a couple of times where someone has peeped through basically trying to get through this, we need to copy this to put it into a new one.
Get out there.
Hey, whoa, why do you remember your last moments? Weird. This is why we don't like graphing calculators. We're getting a bit too complex. There's one woman who remembers her children being pulled away from her hands as she's hauled away, screaming to reprocessing. Yes. And the thing that's so funny is, as they're sorting this, the Mechanicus is so cold, they're like, irrelevant data. He literally chalks it up to emotional misfire of a dying, imperfect biological engine.
That's very That's a very Mechanicus sentence.
Yes. You can be becoming a servitor can become a punishment where you are sentenced to servitude
perpetuity.
No. Servitude in perpetuis, which is the Imperium standard issue bad Latin for perpetual servitude.
They could have just said perpetuity.
But in perpetuis. In perpetuis.
We already have a...
Make it sound Latin-y.
It doesn't even sound Latin-y.
Yeah, well, it does.
James.
And so that's what happens when people deliberately servitor someone. There are times when vast swaths of them are left alive for awful reasons.
What do you mean?
There's a servitor black market. And it's highly illegal and considered distasteful even for the Mechanicum, but
any direction this could go, I don't like.
Yep. You can guess precisely why that's not pleasant fate.
Any direction this could go, I do not like.
Yeah. Yep. There's also stories of just regular servitors taking an impact a bit too hard and remembering their lives. So, jury's out on how well they... Again, jury's really out on how well they silence the person underneath it all.
I mean, there's only so well you can shut the brain up. And the brain is a very it's made to be adaptable. So...
Yeah,
there's just a certain point where it will just flash back.
But then there's also the I mean, true. Look at Phineas Gage, where like, have you seen the Phineas Gage X-ray?
Oh, it's awful.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's awful.
You look at that and you're like, he's dead.
How is he? How did he remain?
You get Phineas Gaged, you're done. And all he did was become a gambler, a drinker, and a terrible human being. Apparently.
Oh yeah.
Well, apparently, he just went through everything that made him likable.
Yeah.
Which.
Well, it went through like all of the frontal lobe bits that are just like friends.
Friends. Yeah. So the human brain it's something that's really hard to deal with, and clearly even they haven't mastered it because like a servitor will fall off a shelf one day and go, "Oh my God, what have you done to me?" And you just ship it back to Amazon, and it comes back behaving normally, and you just move on with your life. The black market servitors are there is a use case for it, which is really, really, really complex tasks that require a human to do them, you know? And so there is a case for that. But there's also the subset of the rich and powerful who just kind of want a brain in a box to toy with.
Either a brain in a box to toy with, or you have your deplorables who are just like, yes, a human being with no agency. Awesome.
Yeah. There's a reason even the Mechanicus, the people whose worst enemies are metal detectors and Vaseline, think that this is distasteful. Like, it's not a good thing. Like, they don't do it. They usually don't do it. The galaxy is just a really big place, you know? And like, oh, that guy had a workplace accident and he got Phineas Gage. What are we going to do with him? I can fix him. And then the guy's never seen again. The guy is never seen again. Also, throughout history, it's also been kind of like a work in progress because they've had these more cognizant servitor things that kind of lay in between the Skitarii that you see. Which, have we covered the Skitarii?
We've covered the mechanics, but not the Skitarii specifically.
God, there's so many little things we have to cover. They're the guys who, like, the big member in charge will go, like, 001, 0001, and all of their guns will turn towards something. You've seen Art of Skitarii.
They're the little warrior peons, yeah.
With the little blue guns that are so radioactive.
Extremely. Yeah. But they're mostly metal, so at that point.
They are the jobbers of the Mechanicus. They are they're their guard, effectively. Kind of. But there's something in between a servitor and one of them, which is a Thalax. And these guys have all their organs and bones replaced by machines.
Awesome.
And servos.
Awesome.
While they're fully awake and their minds are kept fully intact. And after this, obviously, they were mostly sociopathic.
Yep.
And so these were used during the Heresy as just the most terrifying weapons. And they left diagrams of them. Look at that guy.
Whoa. That's... body horror.
Yeah, if you'll notice, his jaw is pried open and there's a tube they crammed in there.
Yeah.
Yep, it's unthrilling. The heart diagram is really cool. I would swap mine out for that.
I do like the heart diagram.
I would swap mine out for that.
Well, it looks like you have just pack-a-punched a heart, and honestly...
Okay, sure. Sure, why not? Pack-a-punched heart, whatever.
The heart is such like a touchy organ that honestly, I think if it made it work better, I'd pack-a-punch. It's not good, is it?
It's not thrilling. It does remind me of like really people with really old pacemakers apparently like tick if you sit near them.
Well, yeah, because it's just super strong electric current.
Yeah, so you can just hear the like the little thing keeping time inside them. It's apparently they don't do that anymore, which I think is lame. Let people tick again.
Let people tick again. If I ever, God forbid, need a pacemaker, I want one of the ticky ones.
Yeah, I think they're worse in every way, but sure, why not?
I don't know. Most cars nowadays are better. The EV cars are better. Well, even normal cars are better than yesteryear's cars, but they still make fake engine noise. I don't care what it takes. Make my pacemaker make fake ticks.
Pacemaker by Bose. That's what it would take, pretty much. Servitors have a very rough life. There's a servitor butler whose master worships Slaanesh, and that's unthrilling.
Yeah. This is the kind of person I was talking about earlier, where it's just like, oh, a human with no agency, awesome.
Yep. And there's this fantastic passage where the faceplate falls off, and with it, this long tube that was just all the way inside him. Yep. The orcs.
That's something straight out of an H.R. Geiger.
Yep. The orcs have made servitors of their own for some reason. Gaz decided to hand over a human to a pain boy, and
Pain.
Yeah, pretty much. He doesn't have vocal cords anymore, so he's not constantly screaming, and he's not piloting their ships. I have no idea how long that's gonna last, but generally speaking, servitor, horrible. Servitor by anyone. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter. It will be terrible.
Servitor by Dolce & Gabbana.
Yeah, that'd still suck. Yeah, that'd still suck, honestly. You'd smell great, probably, but that's it.
Servitor by Hermes.
You'd be turned into a handbag. you would be turned into a handbag. Whatever the hell that handbag is that rich people fight over. I forget there's a name. There's this purse that costs like in excess of 10 grand, I think, and is like very exclusive.
I don't know. I don't own purses.
It's an Hermes thing. I don't know.
Is it an Hermes thing?
It's an Hermes thing. Oh my god, it's a real thing. Hold on.
Is it a Hermes thing?
I could literally look up Hermes purse and like it'll pop right up. Or not. Dang. Whatever. Someone will know.
We're too broke for this stuff.
I mean, look, it's a pouch for 9 grand. You got a pouch for 9 grand. Look at that.
It's okay. Hold on. We're gonna sidetrack here. Go back.
Have you never been to Hermes?
No, I've not. Like I said, I'm too broke for this stuff.
Are you just not aware that this is a thing?
No.
Wait until you discover what watches cost.
It's not even a good pouch. It's got like one pocket.
Wait until you discover what watches cost.
It's not functional.
Just wait. I'm so excited for the day you discover what
to be a multimillionaire.
What like Richard Milles cost.
To be a multimillionaire.
It's not.
You'd see me spend money on the stupidest stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are just people out there who they quite literally cannot spend their money fast enough, and their company's meant to cater to them. It's just an economic reality.
That?
No. They were far more terrifying. Like Jaja, what is it? What, dude? If you think that's expensive, wait until you discover what Alanganzana charge for their stuff. Like you can get
what?
There are here's the way it works. Just on a very, very basic level. If you can make a certain amount of money, there is a company out there that will make you whatever you want, pretty much. And so it's like you just have there's different tax brackets, and there's some comical ones. Like hold on, contact your boutique. We'll never know.
We'll never know.
Humble guess: $250,000 for a watch. Humble guess.
It's a house.
Well, it's a perpetual calendar, and it's lined with platinum, and has tourbillon, and only watch people are gonna get half of this. But yes,
it's a house.
Yeah. I mean, there's only so many houses you can buy.
It's a house.
That's the thing. Like, there's just only so many houses.
I thought the classic bar of "I have a house on my wrist" was
No. Raw de facto, you can have more than a house on your wrist. You know that, right?
Frightening.
Like there's I think the Paul Newman Daytona is the most expensive watch ever. I'm gonna get corrected so hard.
Again,
this is a pandemic project. Don't crucify me too hard if I'm wrong. But
to have more,
I think 17.8 million.
To have more money than God.
Yeah, no, 17.8 million. It's just.
What life would be like to have more money than God?
I think that's the most expensive watch ever sold. But yes, to answer your question, there are companies for every tax bracket. There are companies you've never heard of. I mean, just look at what Singer costs.
I didn't know Pagani existed until 4 years ago.
That's my favorite economic reality, that there are some companies you just will not know about if you're in the wrong tax bracket.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are companies I don't know about, and
I saw a video in Dubai of some rolling shots of a car, and I'm like, that's not a real car. That looks like some stupid kit car. And then it's a Pagani, and I'm like,
I'm surprised you didn't know about Pagani. Oh well, but yeah,
No.
no, they're
No, I didn't know about Pagani.
101 people who cater.
Oh,
for just that.
Koenigsegg was another one that I learned about like quite
Okay,
recently.
that's you being under a rock. Okay,
Same story
That's
as
just you being under a rock.
I just saw like rolling shots of a car in Dubai, and I'm like, this looks like a silly kit car, and then no, it's a real car.
You're gonna get crucified for that one.
Listen, I will say nothing about Koenigsegg's performance. They're really good. I just personally don't like their designs.
I'm staying out of that. We're gonna move on to the highest tax bracket in 40k, and it's the Golden Throne. Because this right here sucks. I wouldn't want it in
No.
a million years. And there are some that would argue that the person sitting on it kind of deserves it, and it's kind of their fault. There was a whole heresy over it, in fact. And the thing you have to remember about the Emperor, above all things, is while he does accomplish a lot of things, nobody will ever debate, the Emperor is very effective. Man, you do not want to be on the receiving end of his effectiveness.
His wrath.
Yes, being on the Emperor's side. It's a blast. It's fantastic. You get to be Gilman. You get to like count beans and stuff. It's fantastic.
Whoa, I love beans.
Going against him, not thrilling. And the Imperium has only deteriorated in his absence. It's only gotten worse. It's only been, all of its failings have been magnified to the caricature that you have today, where it's just.
It's been 10,000 years since he's rolled around. The only like.
I would say the Imperium survives in spite of itself.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a very valid debate that, like, okay, sure, the destination they're at sucks, but who put them on this road?
Yeah.
Who's going to plug the directions in the sat nav here? And that could be its own episode. Yeah, that could be its own episode. Where
Okay, Grandpa.
You use satellite navigation. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, but I don't call it sat nav.
Whatever. We'll chalk it up to linguistic differences. That could be its own episode, whether it's all the Emperor's fault or not. What matters is his life sucks. It's terrible because the chair he currently occupies, keeping him alive, was not meant to do this. I cannot stress this enough. Its main job was to be a center point in a fast travel system that would make it so they don't deal with their current situation of like going through Slaanesh's like bedroom to get anywhere. It's real dodgy. It's real dodgy stuff. And it should have worked. And he shouldn't have been the one on there. That's what Magnus's whole thing was. But long story short, heresy happens. The Imperium splits in half. The guy gets mortally wounded. And he has to be interred on this throne. And it has to be heavily modified
to keep him alive.
It's described as being like the size of Everest in machinery, just constantly whirring and ticking and going, and it's this massive glorified iron lung.
And if you look at it in the art, it's pretty big.
For 10,000 years, the Emperor has been nothing but a beacon that we use to navigate, stuck there, wasting away. There is no way he can feel his body anymore, which is good because it's been decomposing. Because that's the nice thing.
He is a skeleton now.
We have art of him in 30k and then today, and yeah, there's not much skin left on there. It is not much skin left on there. And he is somewhat aware and active of everything that has been happening so far. He has sat on his little chair, skimming the warp kind of, and watching his dream crack and crumble in front of his very eyes, unable to do anything. He's omnipresent but not omnipotent. He can see everything. He is everywhere but cannot do everything. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it's a very, 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 very awful situation.
All you can do is sit there and watch as your like long-term creation just like cracks under its own weight.
And beneath him is a massive hole into the warp that he must constantly keep plugged no matter what. A task that killed one of the best psychers that existed. And all of that has contributed to driving him. I won't even say inhuman is a more accurate word. He was already pretty not. He was very separated from your average human being, even in life.
Yeah.
But now he is so distant from what he used to be that Gilliman walks in and sees him and immediately forgets what Dad used to look like. In that moment.
That's sad.
Like just part of Custodes training, by the way, because these guys have to just stand outside that room. Part of it is just stand in this hallway and then they like crack a door, and sometimes it's enough to make them fall to their knees. Just feeling him, just
imagine you get a job. Imagine you get a job at like a nuclear energy plant, and training for that job is okay. That's the elephant's foot in that room right there. We're gonna crack the door real quick.
Yeah, you have to be able to, because they have to be able to withstand it. You know, they have to be like right there.
Yeah.
Because there is a portal to chaos right there. So they have to be pretty close by in case anything goes wrong. And also, chaos just sometimes appears places.
Just because why not?
So you do have to be able to tolerate it. And these are Custodes. These are the best of the best. One of them is roughly equal to like 6 million Tyranids or something like that. Every time they show up somewhere, the administrators don't bother asking how the battle went. They just said,
right in
deployed
W.
Custodes, W. They won. Victory. Moving on.
Dub.
Yeah, and these guys can only do like, I think, century-long shifts before they have to be rotated out.
Only century-long shifts.
You have to remember, some of them have been alive for 10,000 years.
Yeah.
So to them, it's like
that's the joke.
Yeah.
I think that's the joke.
Yeah, being around the Emperor is so unpleasant because you just feel the sheer suffering. He didn't want to be a god.
No.
And he sat there and slowly become something an awful lot like one. And if he doesn't fully commit, he can see his enemies just winning, no matter what. Chaos has only been taking wins for the last 10,000 years.
Yeah, no matter what he thinks. You're a god now, dude. Sorry.
Yep, and this is best illustrated when Guilliman talks directly to him, and it's the first time we've heard him speak in forever. And it is equivalent of experiencing Cthulhu with dementia. All love is stripped away. It's like talking to a star is how it's described. His words are a psychic assault on the senses, and they burn and batter Guilliman. Like it takes him effort to keep this conversation going for even a little bit. There's just hundreds of words constantly fluttering about in this hurricane, and each one is contradicting itself, and he can feel all of them. He can feel all the impulses going directly into his brain until they all like snap together, and he just hears the phrase, "a grand plan in ruins, an ambition unrealized," and it just keeps going like that. Stars, galaxies, races older than time that don't exist anymore, and things too terrifying to be real. Yeah. And then it focuses. All of that focuses for just a moment, and he can feel that it's described as being a great will exerting itself, not for the final time, but nearly for the final time. He can feel all that strength failing, and he can hear and feel all the machines whirring and whining close to collapse as beneath him thousands of psychers scream and die. And as this pitch rises and rises and rises, all of the voices, all of the machinery overlap, and all he can hear is his name shouted, Guilliman.
So basically, anytime the Emperor tries to do something, the equivalent of me trying to start my PS4 up and play Elden Ring happens.
Worse. Because you don't start your PS4 and I smell ozone 3 rooms over.
Well,
there's a lot of dust, but there's no ozone. Guilliman has an eidetic memory, and he looked at it and didn't know what Dad looked like anymore.
It burned memories out of his skull?
Yeah.
It just took that mimetic data and completely overrid it.
Like, whatever he is, whatever he's been going through is horrific. Like, it is described as just an assault on all of his senses. Like, Guilliman leaves with a light headache. And it takes him a little bit of time to recover.
The Emperor is like sitting on a pendulum right above the abyss, and Gilliman had to take a ride with him on it.
And he felt all of that strength, all the effort, because here's the most horrifying thing about the Golden Throne and why it would suck. Not more than any of the other stuff we mentioned, but really, really hard. The Emperor hasn't just been relaxing. He's been exerting maximal effort for 10,000 years as chaos looks directly at him.
Because they want him specifically.
They may not be staring all the time, but there's a TV in their room constantly playing what's going on. And like, should he crack even just a little bit, they will all appear.
They've all got CCTV on him. I believe it.
The universe split in half, and Khorne's first action is go get Earth, and immediately things just apparated there. Like this is a constant 24 hours, 365 for 10 millennia, all while you watch the people you suffered for and the grand dream you sacrificed all for. He didn't love his kids over this dream, man, and they hate him for it. And it's just
and now they have nothing to show for it.
It was for nothing. Gilliman's first words when he woke up is, "It would have been better if we burned in the fires of Horus's ambition." And that's after he's barely caught up with everything.
And that's after him saying, "Why do I still live?"
The Emperor has been watching the show unfold the whole time.
And it's not entertaining.
This
is the worst reality TV you have ever seen.
Yeah, it's so bad. But again, some people would argue, like payback. I have no feelings on it either way until the inevitable Emperor episode, because we rarely get his perspective on things, so I'm not sure.
Well, I'd imagine at this point, with the being that he's like, the entity that he has become now, it's hard to put his like existence to paper.
It's hard to bottle it. It
Yeah.
really is, yeah. But that does bring an end. That's 10 of some of the worst things that can happen to you in 40k. There's so many more. I mean, there's...
Surprised the Demonculaba wasn't even mentioned.
Because that one got its whole episode. If you want to see the Demonculaba, you can go see the Demonculaba.
I'd rather not go see the Demonculaba again.
Yeah, these all suck. These are all thoroughly unpleasant. And I didn't mention half of them. Like I said, this could be its own series. I didn't mention Penitent Engines, which suck. I didn't mention anything from the Sisters of Battle. They're really intense. I didn't mention what happens when your Geller field fails. That always sucks. And I didn't mention being the guy who lets it leak that the only way through Nurgle's garden is by the perfume department. There's so many awful ways. There's so many awful ways you could go out in 40k. But what did you think of this selection?
I hate it.
You hated it?
I hate it. I hate it. Especially, I'm not gonna lie. Like Big E's. We described the one mechanic, like AdMech, that is like stuck with an AI who is now permanently like
I am pain.
Torturing him for eternity. Mm-hmm. And the Golden Throne is somehow worse than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, ooh.
If you had to pick one.
If I had to pick one to go through?
Mm-hmm.
God, these are all bad.
Yeah.
God, these are all bad.
Yeah.
I can't.
Nope, you gotta pick one.
God, what do you mean I have to?
You have to pick one. The default's Demonculaba.
Default's Demonculaba?
Default's Demonculaba.
I don't think I'm compatible with the Demonculaba.
No. They stitched a full-grown Space Marine in one. They're definitely less than that, I'll tell you that.
God, these are all awful.
Yeah, they're all terrible.
God, these are all awful.
Well done, isn't it?
God, these are all awful.
Very well done. But you gotta pick one. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
A servitor me, I guess.
Servitor.
Because maybe, hopefully, they can completely pull my frontal lobe out.
Oh, I forgot to mention the human chandeliers are hung up by their nerve endings. Almost forgot that. Yeah, yeah. It's described as feeling your own weight tug against it, just over and over and over.
Thanks.
Yeah, I love these episodes.
Thanks.
Yeah. Tune in next week where I get a cheap excuse to talk about an Ultramarine, and we will see who wins the 13th poll. I wonder who's going to come out on top. I have no idea.
Of course you want to talk about an Ultramarine. Let's move past that real quick.
Yeah, on Patreon there's going to be an Ultramarine episode. It's going to be fun. I love it. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for being you. Also, thank you for all the well wishes. We really do appreciate that. And remember to check us out on Twitter and Instagram so that we can stay in touch better and you guys can be kept up to date.